Welcome back to Fast Gadgets. Today we're going to talk about a topic that to me is quite interesting. Now, if you've been watching my videos, you know I did a video recently about Microsoft doing a one-upmanship on Apple. In this case, they actually have Windows 10 support for some of the oldest Apple products out there, including the MacBook Pro 2006. But although Microsoft is supporting older hardware all the way back to 2006 apparently, the one thing they are not doing is supporting hardware that is recent, newer hardware. And there's an article in Computer World by Stephen J. Von Nichols, and Nichols talks about the fact that Microsoft essentially will not support hardware such as the Ryzen processor and motherboards or the Kaby Lake systems if you are using Windows 7 or 8, and of course XP, which is no longer supported at all. But most importantly is Windows 8 and Windows 7. Now, you might ask yourself, why would Microsoft do this? It's like shooting themselves in the foot, but to them it's really not. They are really pushing Windows 10 on the desktop, and they're trying to get rid of all possible last vestiges of Windows 8 and Windows 7. There's just one small problem with that. If we look at net market share of operating systems and their use, and how many people are still using Windows that is not Windows 10, we can actually see that Windows 7 comes in at 48.4%, Windows XP at almost 8.5%, Windows 8.1 at 6.8%, and Windows 8 at 1.65%. So if you add those all up, it actually accounts for 65% of the total market share of operating systems are not Windows 10. Well, I shouldn't say the total. 65% of the total market share is any Windows version other than Windows 10, and that's pretty scary. So Windows 10 adoption is not going as fast as Microsoft had hoped. So this is for them a ploy to try to get new hardware adopters. So those of you, whether you're an individual user or you're a corporation, if you purchase Windows and you want to put it on your new hardware, it's going to have to be Windows 10. Individually as a user, it is somewhat of an issue, although as an individual I imagine many are using their systems to play games. So I would think they would want to be on Windows 10 for DirectX 12 support. On the other hand, if you're a corporation and you decide that you're going to buy new hardware, but you're not ready to upgrade to the latest Windows operating system, and you plan on using your current OS, maybe you have an image that you're going to roll out, the scary thing is the type of support that you are losing is very specific. So essentially what it is, you will not be able to download any updates, and this includes security updates for Windows 7 or Windows 8 or 8.1, unless you decide to go to Windows 10, in which case you would then get the updates. And I think from a corporate standpoint, that is a serious issue. Now, the other thing is the hardware vendors have kind of followed suit and said, well, we're not actually going to support any drivers for 7th generation Kaby Lake or Ryzen and the Bristol Ridge architecture. So even if you do install that operating system, you can still install Windows 7 on those systems, and it does install well according to the author. The problem is you're just not going to get any of the updates, and you really don't have any driver support. So the chipset, the processor, theoretically anyway, all of that would not be optimized like it normally would because you won't have those hardware drivers. It is really unfortunate looking at this big picture here. It is a problem, but Microsoft is really trying to push Windows 10. In my previous video, I did mention planned obsolescence by Microsoft, or excuse me, by Apple, in the sense that they say with their older systems, they no longer support their older MacBook Pros, for example. So the 2006, 2007, and 2008 MacBook Pros can no longer have an installation of OS 10 that's newer than El Capitan. And rightfully so, those who made comments said, you know, Microsoft essentially is doing the same thing. They really are. They are instituting a planned obsolescence for their software. So if you're Windows 7, 8, or 8.1, that's it. If you want to put it on a new system, you get what you get. The funny thing is, Nichols here points out, he says, you know, if you look at the Microsoft Windows Lifecycle Support FAQ, it says all desktop operating system products, whether used for personal or business, receive a minimum of 10 years of support, minimum of 5 years mainstream support, and minimum of 5 years extended support at the supported service pack level. However, what's left if you're not getting updates? What kind of support are they giving for Windows 8.1 or Windows 8, for example, if you're not getting updates? The Microsoft Knowledge Base article stated, because of how this support policy is implemented, Windows 8.1 and Windows 7 devices that have a 7th generation or later processor may no longer be able to scan or download updates through Windows Update or Microsoft Update. Now, is it possible that this could open up Microsoft for a lawsuit? I suppose it does depend. I'm going to say yes, it could, but you would have to be a business with a serious investment in Windows 7 or Windows 8. You would have to be willing to push the envelope and go all the way and take Microsoft to court, I would say, on this one, and I'm not so sure it would be worthwhile. It all depends, really, on how your business operates. One of the things that I've experienced personally in the information technology field, you roll out some applications, whether it's workstation-based or server-based, and those applications are not supported on newer operating systems or newer platforms, and you're kind of stuck with the OS that you have installed, at least for the time being, and it may have been a significant capital investment in that particular software. Maybe it's a client-server application, whatever the case, and they simply do not support the latest OS. Or you don't know what the variables are, so you could try using the operating system, but there could be some issues that would cause it not to run correctly. If you think of a corporation the size of Walmart or Ford Motor Company, you know, they really can't have significant downtime because all their workstations won't load their software that they depend on. Curious about your opinion. What do you think about this? If you go out and buy a new motherboard and CPU that's 7th generation or Ryzen, do you think you should be able to install Windows 7 or 8X and be able to get support? As always, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, like and consider subscribing so that you can get more content from my channel. If you really enjoyed the video, I would appreciate it if you shared it. Your support means a lot to me, and I really enjoy producing this content and sharing it with you, and I hope you're enjoying it as well. And as always, I'll see you next time on Fast Gadgets.